Why is it that we grind at our jobs so hard and play so little? The limited time off that we earn is a valuable resource that we hoard away for the things in life that we like most. PTO is all about the hobbies we do with our time off and what they do for us. Who knows? You might even find a new thing to try with your PTO. Or a sick day. Just don't tell the boss when it's a sick day. Welcome to the Paid Time Outdoors podcast.
Like, what if we carry a lot of gear out and then try to shoot turkeys in the face? His turkey hunting nickname is Big Daddy Gobbler.
Big
So
Daddy
look up there,
Gobbler.
gobblers. So I got this podcast kit for Christmas from my wife, Katie, from Katie's parents. It was like a thing I threw on my Christmas list that was kind of like, that'd be kind of cool. And they got it,
Yeah,
right?
and they got it. Yeah.
So like I got a kit, came with a mixing board and
You
mics
look
and everything.
so professional, by the
Do
way.
I?
You've got the knacks up there. That's cute.
That was a Christmas gift from my brother DJ a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
that's
It was
from DJ?
probably the best gift he ever gave us was
Yeah, I think he might have given you guitar picks when you were a kid.
1 year for Katie's birthday. It was her 22nd, 23rd birthday. He gifted her a bottle of, well, I shouldn't say a bottle, a third of a bottle of vodka. Yeah. Although at the time we were like, that's quite a silly gift. We've been enjoying the story of the gift for about
For
10
a
years.
long time.
So I would say it's well worth it.
You know, my sister and I now, and brother-in-law and Carly, we've already come to an agreement. We're not giving each other gifts anymore.
Yeah, kids.
Yeah, kids, it's just another thing. So what we do actually tomorrow night, we're going to dinner. We're going to have a double date. It's the opportunity to actually talk to my sister and brother-in-law we can all get together and filter out the noise.
Well,
Yeah,
and
so
inevitably we're turning into our parents, and like
yeah, dude, we're getting old.
my
Yeah.
parents have so much shit, just stuff everywhere. And so like for the past few years for gifts, I've been getting them like things that are disposable. Like here's some steaks, right? So if they eat them,
Oh,
they're gone. Or, stuff like that. Experiences.
we got my parents um a birdhouse that is connected to Wi-Fi. So up in Wisconsin, my parents have a place in central Wisconsin that they go on for weekends in the summer, and they love the bluebirds up there. My mom's got a little book. She's got like 3 sets of binoculars, and they have birdhouses all over the place. So,
Approximately.
and then that has
So
started to
there's-
migrate. That has started to migrate home to their house. So we're like, okay, let's get them like a Wi-Fi connected.
Mhm.
I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's Wi-Fi connected. So anytime a bird like shows up, it pops up, sends them a notification on their phone. So yeah, so we got them that for Christmas this year.
Yeah, that's a great gift.
Yeah, I think my dad is less about the birds than my mom, but I'm like, you know what, this was pretty cool.
So that speaks volumes to me because I work in conservation, right? So a lot of what I do is showing people nature, showing people the outdoors. And when I'm not teaching people or like seeing that my staff is teaching people, I get to do fun conservation things. Like we open up the bluebird boxes once a year, since you're talking about bluebirds,
Yeah,
and we record if they were active. So if we find bluebird shells, we can identify the shells and the
Mhm.
nests. We record this was a successful one, then we empty it and put bedding, the right stuff in it. I get to do fun stuff like that. So like tucking right up my alley. And actually before our old park ranger retired, he built me a bluebird house that I have here. I haven't put it out yet. And he built it out of an oak tree that grew in front of Aldo Leopold's childhood home.
Get out.
So he got a piece of an oak slab, Leopold oak slab. So
Yeah.
the pivoting door that I have on my bluebird house is a Leopold, which is kind of a big deal in conservation.
Yes, that is. Although Leopold is very well known in the circles, as you have told me
Weird
many a
flex,
time.
no.
Yeah,
So birds. Anyway,
yeah.
getting after it. We already kind of jumped into the pod. But I am your host. I'm Marcus. I work for conservation. The whole point of this podcast is that the idea that we work our butts off so dang hard all the time uh, to get such a little amount of time off that we focus a lot of our energy on those things that we spend our PTO or paid time off, paid time outdoors on. So basically, any guest that we decide to talk to, like, hey, what do you do with your time off? Is like, oh, well, I save it for the perfect thing, XYZ. And that's exactly what this podcast is about. It's about hearing about the good jobs folks have had, the not so good jobs, maybe some funny stories. And after all that grind we do, what do we do with that minimal time off that we have? So we're here to talk about our experiences and what we do with that precious PTO. You might even find something that you would want to call in sick for. Don't tell the boss. So I'm here with a special guest. This is Ken. I've been friends with Ken for about 30 years, so we know each other pretty well. I'll do my best to use people's names, how we're related to them, instead of just talking to you like a normal conversation, at least to start. But we've been friends for about 30 years. When we were kids, we lived very close. We're both in the Midwest. Ken has worked some interesting jobs, anything from working at a barbecue joint to working the shoe department in a store to what he's doing now. And I don't want to spoil what he does now, but let's give it up for Ken. Applause happens here. Ken, could you kind of give us like a rundown of a couple jobs you had when you were a young dude?
Yeah, so the shoe department was my first actual paycheck type of job. So my dad worked construction, so, he would have me help out, and that was like allowance type money. So, hey, we need to tear off and replace the roof on the house or on the garage. I would do that, right? So I'd be up there with a shovel, um, at 12 years old, trying to do that stuff. I got introduced to construction pretty early, but my first paycheck job was, yeah, at the shoe department. I was slinging pumps,
Yeah, but
Adidas Ambas,
yeah. So what,
New Balance 574s, I think. Yeah,
you're slinging foot protectors. What brought you there? Why were you? I mean, of all the things you could do in the town you grew up in, I mean, you could work like a lot of different kind of stuff. Why
uh,
were you like, dog? I want shoes. Is it like a Quentin Tarantino thing or like?
no, I love feet. No, my neighbor worked there. That was as simple as it was. Like, oh yeah, I was looking for jobs. I trying to pay for trying to get gas money, trying to pay for guitars and stuff, like stupid stuff when you're a kid. Uh, I was looking for something, and we were both we were in high school, so I was looking for a part-time job. And I applied to a bunch of places and I maybe got an interview or two, which was like, do you have a pulse?
Can you count?
Can you count to 10? Maybe.
So from what you remember, and that was a long time ago, that you worked in the shoe department, were there some cool people you worked with? Or was every I mean, what was it like there? What was
Yeah.
the
So yeah, my neighbor worked there. She lived next door to us. She was nice to me. She worked in the home goods section of this department store. And I started working there. We had some cashiers that you become like work friends with, but you're also, like busy at the same time. And you're only there for, this was a part-time job, so I was there for maybe 4 hours,
that's like
after,
trauma bonding with people in public.
yeah. A mutual friend of ours, I conned him into starting to work there too. So we would hide in the break room together, or hide in the back storeroom together. We would because he worked in another department like right by ours. Yeah, the shared trauma bonding. Like these stores put on these like massive sales, and it's like uh 4th of July blowout. You're like, who? Nobody cares. Why is that? All right, we're just gonna buy stuff. Or the President's Day sale. And we're like, all right, cool. We're gonna buy towels and shirts.
And here's department store cash because you made a
And
purchase.
here's department, yeah, yeah. People would just mob the store. and then tear it apart. And then the next day, of course, they would have us on a shift that, we said we couldn't work, and they're like, well, too bad, you have to. So, we'd help each other out occasionally, when we could, try and like just pick up after the mess. So I did that for maybe a year. Um,
What'd you move on
it
to
was
after?
it was just like, yeah. After that, that was the barbecue joint. That was my first food service job. And working retail, like in a department store, and then going to food service, you really learn how people can be at their worst
Yeah,
sometimes.
you got a hungry person like, "Where's my table? I'm
Oh
hangry.
yeah.
Feed me
Yeah.
now."
Yeah. And that was my first like introduction to like what barbecue was like. We had in the basement of the restaurant, they had this massive smoker. So at 6 in the morning, the chef or the cooks would come in and get everything prepped and in there. And the restaurant didn't open till like 10:30, 11 o'clock, so they would have stuff in there for 4 or 5 hours at that point. Stuff that they would put in the night before and
Brisket forever.
have it go overnight. That was my first introduction to food service. Another mutual friend of ours worked there at the
Makes
same
sense.
time.
So when you left that job, did you quit or did you get fired? Were you let go? Because I know, like, as a young person, that's devastating if you're let go.
That was a summer job. No, because at that point I was going to college. So that was my senior year of college or senior year of high school. I was going to college. I actually lied to them and I told them that I was going to a local college so I could get hired on. Yeah, because they were looking for somebody who was full time or who was part time but could stay there. And I was a busboy, by the way. I was just, cleaning tables, filling the ice machine. The cooks would yell at me and I'd go do something for them and burn my hands and they would laugh. In the town that they had this car show and they put me outside by this grill and we had a little stand and we would sell, a pulled pork sandwich with a bag of chips and a drink for like $5 and people would come, give us money and so I would run that stand. But this was in the dead heat of summer in a parking lot, an asphalt parking lot where it's already 90, 95 degrees outside and you're standing in a parking lot next to a grill
That's hot.
slinging sandwiches in a black t-shirt and black pants because of course the restaurant's like you need to have a black shirt and black pants. So I'm overheated, I'm sweating, slinging sandwiches, and
So, what's your next step in life? Like, where are you going next from there?
I go to college. So
Okay.
go to college and I start doing that. I'm not working. I'm studying, and my second semester I start looking at all the loans that I'm gonna have to start taking out. And I wanted to, when I was a kid, I thought, maybe I'd join the army, and I looked into doing that instead of going to college. But my parents were like, just go to college first, and then if you want to, you can go to the army after that. I started seeing all these people on campus in like military uniforms, and then I figured out what ROTC was. Like, oh, okay. So I walked over to the armory and they had like brochures. So I looked at them, I started researching it, and then I ended up making contact with the professor of military science and the instructors that were there. And then I started doing ROTC. So I was going to school, and then I started, you know, uh, wearing a uniform a couple days a week, going to PT every morning.
Everyone's like, "You're so handsome. Look at you, he's so handsome. My little boy's so handsome." Well, thank you
Yeah,
for your
well,
service. All jokes aside, thanks for your
okay, yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so I started doing that. Then I continue on doing that. I sign a contract. I'm on a scholarship through the army. I'm studying. You make a Yeah, I had a circle of friends outside. I had like architecture friends, and then I had army friends or cadet. We were all cadets together. And so I graduate the next day. Part of ROTC is you commission. So I commission, and then I'm off to the army. So I served in the Army for 4 years. I was an artillery officer, and it was probably, as a job, that was a tough but rewarding experience.
Sure, it was a lot different than slinging barbecue in a
Oh
parking lot.
yeah, total difference from that. So got me really acquainted with how to. It, you learn leadership in college, but um, what really starts to set the difference is, all right, now I'm 23 and now I'm in charge of 30 something, other soldiers. And so you you try to be, yeah, humble, because you're the new guy. And I started to learn, I think, working really working retail and working food service, you learn how people how people you learn people skills. But in the Army you also learn a lot of people skills, leadership skills. You learn how to try and motivate people. You learn from other soldiers that you work with, that, and you're doing your job. Speaking about outdoors, spending a lot of time in the field. You spend a lot of time in the field.
So of your experience, coming from college, you're now in the Army, what was, like, your favorite part of the Army during that time in your life?
The favorite part of the Army was, yeah, the camaraderie. Like you have a group of friends, a lot of peers that you are all in the same organization together. You're making things happen. The U.S. military is kind of unique that, well, I take it back. Our military and a lot of other militaries are pretty unique in that the decision making is kind of decentralized. So you get like a concept. A lot of people think it's like you just stand there and wait for orders. No, that's not really how it works. You get an objective and you get like a set of guidelines, and then they go, okay, go figure it out, go do that. And later on, I had to do a lot of logistic stuff, and so I started, Humvees and cargo trucks and, or howitzers. You have to maintain them because they break all the time because you're using them hard, right? And so even though they're pretty like overall dependable, like the Humvee is like a pretty dependable vehicle in general, they like leaking a lot. So one of my jobs later on was like maintaining them, coming up with a maintenance program. And so you have to get really creative, and you have to learn your soft people skills, dealing with mechanics, prioritizing things like, hey, can you fix this? You have to deal with other officers in different units who also are trying to get their stuff fixed at the same time. So you're making like side deals with them, like, hey man, let me get this in front of yours, uh get this through the shop, and then can you come after me, then I'll let this one go, et cetera, et cetera. So
Well, I was pretty lucky, when you had some when you got,
yeah.
a little bit of leave,
Hmm.
you'd come back home, I'd get to see you, and that time is so valuable. I mean, sounds like you're so busy doing all these difficult tasks. How was it having, like, a little bit of time off for things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you get 30 days of leave when you're in the military. So a lot of it is spent what's called like block leave. So the unit will set up aside like a period of time, depending, of course, on like the tempo of operations. So, if the unit's around for Christmas, or, if the unit's, stateside, and it's around, the holidays, they'll have a holiday block leave. And essentially, it's like if you're able to take that, if you've got leave, you can take it. It's a lot easier of a process. If you try and take leave at any other time outside of block leave, it's really up to, the commander's discretion whether, all right, you can actually go or not. You can't just be like, hey, I'm leaving for 2 days. I'll see you later. You have to ask and,
Mhm.
put in a bunch of paperwork and get it approved.
Yeah. So it sounds like a golden ticket when you have a little
Yeah.
bit of
So
time
what?
off.
Yeah. So when you get block leave, like, and you've got the opportunity to take it, you take it. And so I would just give me the entire time, and I'd come home, or I would go somewhere. One time I went to northern Wisconsin for a week or two and got a cabin in the woods by a lake. And so having that time was yeah, the tempo when you're in the army, you're always moving, you're always doing stuff, you got plans. Okay, we're thinking 3 months out, we're trying to get out to the range, we're trying to get out to the field. Okay, we have to rotate to this training center, and then, taking that leave was great.
So maybe
So
in a future episode when we have you on next time, we could get into some of those stories of your time off or some
yeah,
fun adventures you had
yeah,
in the
absolutely.
army. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds great.
yeah.
So, you're out of the army, what's next?
So yeah, I decided I wanted to get out of the army, and uh like I said, I went to school for architecture, so I decided I wanted to go into that field. So I
So
met with a former Marine officer who had gotten out and was an
as an
architect.
architect.
So he took me out to lunch and told me, "You don't want to be an architect." What? This is what I went to school for. I should probably, do that. And he's like, "Well, have you ever thought about construction?" I was like, "Okay, no." But he's like, "Yeah, there's construction management. I think that you would be a great fit for it." And so
So
he
you're
actually
probably
said,
thinking, "Dang it, dad, had me
right, yeah.
moving the
So
shingles when I."
exactly, yeah. So having a carpenter as a father, and tons of my family are in the trades. Kind of made sense. Like, okay, I could be in that sort of environment. I know what it's like. Swung a hammer, but not professionally. So I move into. So I'm working on getting out of the army, and I'm having phone calls and things like that, and I land a job at a general contractor. I get out of the army, I have 2 weeks off, and then I start work. So I start working for a general contractor as like an assistant project manager. So I start in the management type of things. Well, I think the army taught me was like, you know how to manage projects, and you have some familiarity with construction, and so this will be the next things. I started working there, and basically from then on, like, I've been working in that field in construction management.
You're still
So
there now. You're still
yeah,
doing
so I've
similar.
been yeah, I'm still yeah, I'm in the construction management field, you should say. There's a whole ton of different roles, and I've basically taken all of them at some point or another, working in the field, working in the office, managing construction projects, and I've been doing that for the last, I think, 8 years. So
So you've been working hard, grinding it out. Let's get down to the skinny, brother.
all right.
You get that
Yeah.
paid time off, what are we doing? What is,
All
like, the
right.
thing that you do? And, of course, like, family is, like, a priority and making sure
100%.
everybody's healthy and making sure everyone's doing well, but, we get those special weekends where we're like, "If I take off Friday and I take off Monday, boom, it's a 4-day weekend." So what are we doing for that 4-day weekend?
Yeah, so I mean, when you have a whole lot of different hobbies, you start, and especially when you get older, you start to, make habits out of them, right? I thought about this a little bit, over the past couple of days, and like humans, we're like routine creatures. We're creatures of routine. We're creatures of habit, right? I think what I have to reflect on this, I think you have to balance, yeah, your family life and your work and day-to-day schedule
So if you're
with
listening, Ken's wife, Ken's child, uh, we love you. Your priority, of course.
yeah, yeah. So we have a lot of those family events, and we put everything in a shared calendar. Everything's in a shared calendar. If we put it in there, then we both know about it. My wife and I both know about it, and we can make plans, uh, you know, uh, way ahead of time. But what I've realized is that the routines that we do really help establish maintaining those hobbies that we have. So I know at least once a year I'm going fishing, because every year I put it in the schedule. My family, I'm fortunate enough that our family sets up a family and friends fishing tournament, which Mark is an honorary life member of.
Yes, this is true.
and he's welcome at any time. He hasn't been for the past couple of years.
Hey, maybe we'll make it soon.
Yeah. But I know at least once a year I'm gonna go fishing. So that I've set that in. I know at least once a year I'm going to go turkey hunting because I put it in the calendar. I know it's gonna happen.
Buddy, we plan out for turkey hunting. For those of you who don't turkey hunt, we hunt out of state, and for the state that we hunt in, we have to apply to get in to hunt in the state about, I don't know, 6 months before it even happens. So, like, we have to plan way ahead where we're gonna stay, who's coming, who's getting tagged, so there's some planning involved in that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm gonna be fishing at least once a year in advance. If I can get out other times, that's a bonus, right? If I get one of those, holiday weekends or 4-day weekends, or if I, take a trip up, to the family property and I can go fishing, I'll go do that. But I know at least once a year I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that chance. Same thing with turkey hunting. When I put it in the calendar, I put it in the calendar when I'm done with with turkey hunting. I
Right,
put it in for the next year.
right.
And I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, so I just block out. I
More
put an
time than
event in.
necessary.
I just block out. I'm like, for sometime in this month of April to May, there's spring turkey hunting season. So this is going to happen. And then it kind of narrows itself down to when we actually figure out when we're awarded because yeah, like Mark said, we're out of state. So then it actually gets narrowed down. And then those types of things I put in. And then another thing that I do, I know I'm going to go camping at least once a year. And I put in, and specifically cold camping, where we're camping in the winter. And so I'll put that in. That's a little more loosey goosey. I know around the time it's usually the first or second week of December, and I have
No
that.
bug. That sounds awesome, dude.
No bugs, but there's a whole lot of rain and or snow and or both that's involved. So you kind of got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah. So Ken,
So yeah.
you're a man of many hobbies. What is or maybe I shouldn't call them hobbies, lifestyles, right? As we kind of revolve our life around this little time we have off. What is the topic you want to talk about today for what you spend a lot of your time off doing?
Well, one other one that I haven't mentioned yet is music. So I also do that. That we are usually monthly or bi-monthly. I play in a band and I play guitar. I've been playing guitar since I was 12, 13, and I've kept it up to, it kind of ebbs and flows. Been in a band, not been in a band, been in a band. So I like to do that as well. But I turkey hunt with Mark. So let's talk about turkeys.
My goodness. I honestly, I didn't
Let's
know
get some
what you were gonna
talk
pick.
about talk
Like I
about
said,
being gobblers,
So, like I said,
gobbler
I've
hunters.
known Ken for like 30 years. So, Ken is a dude of many trades. He's being humble of all of the cool things that he does that he's good at. Anything from his band. Ken has been in bands all the way from high school. I mean, in middle school, we all got guitars and basses and shit. And then Ken is like over there actually playing, and we're like, "Oh, smoke on the water,
We
brother."
were in a band together.
And
Don't sell yourself short. You
eh,
are a multi instrumentalist yourself, dude.
not no mo, brother. Not no
Yeah,
mo. Anyway, so Ken, you have many hobbies. I don't know if you wanted to talk fishing, if you wanted to talk, maybe in other episodes we could talk about some of those other things. But
yeah,
turkey hunting, dude, we're talking
yeah.
turkey hunting. I love
Let's
this.
talk turkeys, man. Let's talk turkeys.
One of the many passions in my life is turkey hunting. And turkey hunting is a thing that I learned on my own, mostly from YouTube. We're living in a crazy time right now where if you want to learn something or you want to get good at something, dude, YouTube it. There's like this dude who does car repairs. You could put your make and model of your car. You're like, it's making this sound.
Hmm.
Dude, through YouTube, you could figure out what it is and fix it. Like, we're in an
Yeah,
incredible futuristic time right
yeah.
now.
There's a dude on YouTube. His name's Chris Fix. He's a very popular YouTuber, and he had essentially a Ford Ranger. And at the time, I had a Ford Ranger that was breaking down all the time, and I was trying to save some money. And the way he lays out his videos, he's like, here, like he just shows you, here are all the tools you need, and he goes through them. And he's like, this is step by, and then he would go step by step, multiple angles of how to like replace your brakes or, like examples of like how to fix stuff, detail things in a simple way that you could just do in your garage. that stuff is awesome. So like, yeah, the YouTube is really changed, or really just the internet in general has changed how you can just learn how to do something by yourself, with the help of others, of course. Somebody has to, give you the information. But before that, it was like a Haynes manual, thick manual. You had to go to the auto parts store, and some guy had to like look at you begrudgingly, be like, do you really know what you're doing? And you're like, no, that's why I'm buying this book.
Chilton's Manual. Shout out to Chilton's.
Chilton's and Haynes.
Yeah.
There's another one too. It's not bad.
So, turkey hunting, tell me a little bit about it. How long have you been doing it? When did you start? Let's start from the beginning. How
Yeah,
did
so
you
when I
know
was
it
in the
was
army, I tried it, and it was the worst experience because I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I borrowed a shotgun from another soldier. I just like put on some camo and I got a tag off the counter, and I walked into the woods and it was raining, and I had I didn't see anything. I was just like, okay, yeah, this sucks. And then I just left.
so why would you do it again?
So, I got interested in it again because, um, I I wanted to experience something that, that type of hunt. I knew turkeys were not easy to hunt. I know that right now. I know that very well. They're a tough animal to hunt. They can see and hear you from uh way further than you would think. Um, there's a level of patience involved. There's a level of finesse involved with it, and you got to get like super close. You're talking between 0 to 30, 40 yards. Some guys can get, they're it's got to have a super dialed in gun. And I do shotgun. I hunt shotgun. I don't hunt archery. Mark, I know
Silly.
you're a big fan of archery,
I'm going
but yeah,
shotgun
I'm a
for a while.
shotgun
I'm
guy.
sick of this archery turkey crap. I'm gonna blow their heads off, turn them into jelly. I'm done with that for a while.
Yeah. So I started talking to you about it, and we've got a group of friends who we all put in tags together, and we got a little turkey camp, and we go out. We've got a state or a state wildlife area that we go out. So, good area of public land, and we'll do run and gun. We'll put up a ground blind. So yeah, really, I was like, okay, let's see uh, what this is. And yeah, I started just getting into it. YouTube videos.
And I remember our first conversation about it. So this is
You
kinda how
do?
it went. I kinda manipulated you. Sorry, not sorry. Okay?
Get out. No, you didn't.
So what happened was Ken was like, "Hey, I really wanna try, like, a backpacking, hiking, camping trip." That's how this started, Ken. You
Which
were
I
like
still want to do, by the way.
right, I wanna do that too, but Ken was like, "I wanna go where we have to backpack out and we camp, like, way the heck away from people." You go out and stay a night, you move camp again, you do, like, a big loop, and I remember kind of being like, how do you feel about, like, carrying lots of gear?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's kinda like what I wanna do." And then you camp, and I'm like, "What if we carry a lot of gear out and then try to shoot turkeys in the face?" Right. So, I remember the conversation kinda starting that way. I would love to share this passion. I've been trying for years to get
Yeah.
some of my best buddies to come out and spend some time with me doing some of these things, and
Yeah.
I feel so lucky that you took me up on it that 1st year.
Yeah.
And
That
what was
was an awesome experience because you can watch all the YouTube video. There is you can learn a lot from just watching, but then you got to actually do it, right? So you can watch YouTube videos about how to do calls. You can watch videos on, you can get real nerdy like I did, which was learning about patterns of life for turkeys and how they do their how the mating season works. And you can get into the biology of it, right? You can watch these videos of like these old timers giving you their bad advice. So sometimes you just got to do your own bad advice and go out and get it done. um
unfortunately, you have to try and fail so many times before you
yeah,
become successful that having a mentor makes a huge difference to this
Yeah, you are that guy for me.
this time.
So I get to learn, yeah, so I've been learning all your tricks of the trade.
And what was it like getting ready for your first turkey hunt?
Really was accumulating gear, right? So you can go out in a pair of, pair of jeans and a flannel shirt and go out turkey hunting. At that time, I didn't even, I borrowed one of your shotguns, and so I, went to the store. I got myself some camo, got myself some, I got one of those packs of calls that's just like, here's like 11 things.
Well, first
And you're
off,
like,
why are you gonna buy all this stuff to try something, right? So, like,
yeah,
getting into hunting, unfortunately, and a lot of times is like, I have to spend like 3 grand, get a shotgun.
yeah.
You gotta get camo. You gotta get
Yeah.
decoy.
Well,
And
and exactly. So for me, it was like, all right, I'm just gonna get some basic all season type of camo. That'll work. Yeah, that pack of calls was like, on the bottom shelf, the kind of value brand kind of thing. So I knew I was gonna like it, and I had really no expectations of it, right? But I wanted to have something, right? And so I got that. I got a mouth call. I still don't know how to use a mouth call. On the other hand, you can actually make some noises.
also, along the way, I was hyping Ken up. I was Oh, man, we only got this much time. Here's the countdown until opening day. First shooting light is this time. And all the questions,
Yeah,
of course, you're going to have questions. One of what the laws are, because if you break the laws with any, hunting or fishing things, like there are huge penalties. So, like law questions, gear questions, all of that kind of stuff is coming up. And it was just a blast for me, at least on like the mentor side be like, "Oh, yeah, I know an answer. I know an answer." This yeah.
I
Don't
got it.
dude, you don't wanna get this style of chair. You need a backrest. If you don't have a backrest, dude, you're gonna be miserable.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. I got just like a cheapo, just flat chair. Watching all these videos, like dudes are just like chilling on a tree. And then I started doing that, and I was like, this hurts. I'm not enjoying myself. And so that trip, we went to the store and bought a chair. I got another chair.
By the way, this chair, phenomenal. It sits 4 inches off the ground,
Yeah.
backrest, folds up quietly, little pockets,
It's got
and
pockets,
what was this
put your
chair called?
trinkets.
What did it say on the chair?
It's called the Big Daddy Gobbler.
Big Daddy Gobbler. So, Ken, the turkey hunter, his turkey hunting nickname is Big Daddy Gobbler. So
Big
look
Daddy
out there,
Gobbler.
gobblers. You hear Big Daddy coming, you're doomed, brother.
Yeah, so yeah, but that's it. Like I'm learning at that point, it's like I got just like what I thought would work, and I don't even use half that stuff anymore. I mean, I'll use that little crappy chair like if I'm gardening. It's just like a plank seat with some legs on the side, and I'll use that to like put my knee on it while I'm doing yard work and stuff. But then, yeah, like you learn pretty quickly, like, oh, this will work, this doesn't. You start to realize like, okay, I like this call, this seems to work for me. I'm getting good at this one, and so you start to figure out how you hunt, what type of stuff you want to bring along while you're hunting.
Imagine you're a little bit nervous. You're trying blowing air over these things, making crazy, wacky sounds that we expect turkeys to respond to. What was it like hearing that first gobble?
That was real cool. Yeah. And that was like, I think maybe the first walk that we went out on. The first time we went out, I was the last one there. You guys were already camoed up. I was the last one to come to camp. So like I throw my bags inside, I go change. You're like, all right, cool. Here's shotgun. Here's a shotgun. Let's go.
Military, you're trained with firearms. I'm not
Yeah.
worried. If
No, no.
you were a
So
brand new
I was very familiar with it. Yeah, I'm familiar with firearm. That I was like, okay, yeah, we got it. It took me a couple of seconds to be like, all right, here's the safety. This is this a very familiar uh, pump action that I I've used before.
also, this pump action shotgun that I borrowed Ken, I won in a raffle for $20. like a Turkish 870 Remington knockoff.
Yeah.
It does the
And
job,
it's great.
shoots well,
Yeah.
buddy, it's my backup shotgun now.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's not great, but it's good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough. And especially, yeah, for a backup. So yeah, we walk out. I think we were maybe like a half a mile into the woods, and that's when we heard the first uh the first gobble. And we all stop, and I was like, they're like right here. Yeah, they're right there. Okay. So we all stop, trying to figure out where they are, Okay, are there more of them? Is it just one? This was, late afternoon, early evening. So, we were looking at that period of time, before they go back up into the roost, okay, all right, now let's go. And then you just started making your way up this hill. I just
Going,
started
brother.
following, and I'm like, all right, we're going. So I'm just following behind you. And we set up in like a bunch of bushes, like
That
some,
triangle spot
yeah,
that I'm thinking
yeah.
of
So
way up there.
so
Yeah.
we set up. I'm leaning on the back of the tree, starting to realize how much this I will regret if I have to do this for multiple days, right? And I pull out like my slate call, and uh I do for the first I go for the I had practiced it a bunch before, and so I go to do my first one, and I can't make a call. So then I'm pulling out sandpaper, trying to
Right.
like rough it up.
So to paint the picture, we park, we hike maybe a half mile, maybe a little more, and I had a spot marked in my maps on my phone that was a high elevation point, right? Thinking of, hey, they're probably going to want to roost or sleep up in these high trees. So later in the afternoon, get there. It was kind of a clearing so they could see. So any predators, any threats, like they're not worried about. There's grasshoppers and things for them to eat in these fields. They were managed very nicely. And so it was like this little triangle at a high elevation. This would be a good spot catching them when they're trying to go to the roost. Because when I say the roost, I mean they're trying to sleep in the trees. So turkeys, they don't fly much, but the flying that they do at the end of the night, they fly up into a tree so the predators can't eat them. If they just slept on the ground, like coyotes, raccoons, possums, those kinds of predators are going to eat them. So they're not going to survive. So the adaptation is this awkward 20 something pound bird manages to flap its wings and run into branches on the way up to the roost, and they sleep up in the trees. So, high elevation point, they can see really far. There's a nice field they could come down in, just painting the picture. So, Ken's over here, gets his sandpaper out and is, hitting the
I'm just
stake.
trying to like make something happen, right? I'm trying to be quiet because I don't know, if they're going to be nearby. I don't want to like scare them off. Okay, that's a weird noise, and then have them take off, right? So I'm just quietly trying to take my sandpaper off, and we're co-located, so we're only like a few feet apart. I'm trying to learn the ropes, right? So, and that's when maybe like 45 minutes after that we sat down, that's when we saw our first hen. So now I'm like, okay, that we're not getting the action that we're not seeing toms, but we're seeing hens. We're seeing the females, and for the spring, we're going for toms. We're going for male turkeys. That's the spring season. That's a male only turkey season. So I spot it, and I'm like, okay, I've seen enough YouTube videos and pictures on the internet. I'm not seeing anything distinctive of a tom. I'm not seeing a beard. I'm not seeing a big fan. I'm not seeing a lot of red and blue. Those are the features that I'm looking for. And this turkey looks smaller. And so we're trying to stay quiet and I'm like, all right, I know maybe we'll see, a hen, but maybe a tom's going to come by. Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. And at that point we were just, hey, let's get out there because we're all just excited to get out.
Frankly, it's a dry run. Like one thing is getting things situated in all of your pockets so you know where they are. And we were getting you just dialed.
Even then, I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. I'm not gonna put this here.
We need to go get us a daddy gobbler.
Yeah. This chair isn't gonna work. I set up my own, like, I put together just like with some like hiking parts. I had a belt, and I had some pouches, and it was a hiking belt, so it had pouches on it, and I just used that instead of getting like a turkey vest, right? Like I'm trying to reach back and grab stuff. And I'm already going, okay, yeah, I should probably put this here. So I was putting stuff in my pockets, and So I'm learning pretty quickly, even just after that, like first couple hours, like, okay, yeah, this is not the ideal setup from what I thought, and I can make adjustments when we get back, for the night and go out for the next morning. I'll set myself up a little differently. So yeah, uh we see that hen, we don't really see anything else. And sun's starting to go down. We start to get real close to sunset. We pack it up and we're ready to head back. So we head back for the night. I was pretty excited. Like I thought, okay, we're at least we're seeing turkeys. Okay, like the only time that I went out before, I didn't see anything. I didn't even see a squirrel. So
What's
this
the
is
vibe
like
like?
way 100% more.
What's the
And
vibe
I'm
like
what's
turkey
that?
season? We get back, we seen a couple of birds. What's the vibe like when we're back there?
I think we were just like, all right, it's something's here. They're around. If you see female turkeys, if you see hens, you're gonna see toms, um, eventually. And so at least seeing a hen was, yeah, was good, some good motivation. Like we're gonna see some stuff. We're gonna see some turkeys. And one of the things that I started to learn, because I joined the turkey camp late, is one of the turkey camp rituals is playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater
That's right. And
on PlayStation
pounding monsters like,
and pounding monsters, right? So we go back, we eat some dinner, played some Tony Hawk Pro Skater at our friend's house where we're staying.
hawks, they could be predators to baby chickens. Those poults got no chance. Hawks around, we're the Hawk brothers.
We're Yeah, so we'll get motivated, right? And Mark tells me, all right, we're gonna get up at 3:30. Like, okay, that's some dedication. I can hang, and I wanna hang. So we get ourselves into a get set up for the night, go to bed. We got all our alarms going. We get up, we start pounding energy drinks, and we all pile in the car, pile all our gear in the car, and we go to another spot. So we didn't go to the same spot that we did the first night. We go to a second spot, and it's in the same state park. We make it out there, dark, can't see anything, but we've got our red lens flashlights, our headlamps, trying to make as little noise as possible as we're suiting up. And so we're at the second spot. We're all geared up. We're ready to go, and we start making our way out. At this point, I'm still co-located with Mark, so he's got a spot on the map. It's we're gonna tuck ourselves. I think we're gonna tuck ourselves in this wood line. This was the second night, right?
It was
That
raining, if I remember right.
Yeah, and
So, big sign for a turkey hunter. It starts to rain. Turkeys, they'll come out in a light mist, light rain, especially to fields because grubs and worms and all the food that they want to eat is starting to come to the surface when it starts to rain, especially spring. Things are waking up from that, hibernation that they're doing. So the strategy was, hey, if nobody's parked in this spot, let's try to get there before them. Being public land is a little competitive. Let's get there. Ken and I are going to set up under this white pine, get some cover. Ben, our other buddy that we were hunting with, is gonna set up on another side of the field. So that way, if they're in the field, they go his way, good, he'll have some luck. If they come our way, we'll have some luck. So we were still kind of co-hunting together. Ken is still learning the ropes. Really, the hope was we want two to come out so we could double up. A 1, 2, 3, bang,
mhm.
and whack a couple of.
Yeah, that was the goal. And so yeah, so we set up, and it's at this kind of like corner, right? There's trees on the corner. It's got a lot of brush behind it, so we're not creating a silhouette. And so I put I had this like camo like leaf poncho, and so I put that on. I'm like, let me give this a shot. Let me see how this goes. And we can overlook this field to our right. This field kind of goes up, and then there's a crest. We can't really see over it. And then to like our front and to our left, the terrain kind of slopes downward. So we've got like a pretty long field of view in that direction. And so we're sitting there, we're waiting. Sun starts to come up. It starts to clear up too. So it's maybe partly cloudy, it's starting to warm up a little bit. And I remember, just kind of looking around, looking at nature, as it's I'm seeing not turkeys, but other birds. Actually, one was a sand crane
We
that
had these
flew in.
sandhill cranes come in.
We had a sandhill crane come in, and so I'm like, "Oh, cool, at least I saw a bird. All right," and
You sound
then
like your parents.
shut up.
"Log on, there's a bird!"
There's a bird. Yeah. So we get this text like, "Oh, I see something. They're and we know where he is. He's down the hill on the other side of the field." Okay. And we had put decoys out. We had gotten there early enough that we put all we set ourselves up right. We put up decoys. We're gonna sit here, and just wait it out.
Snacks were easily accessible.
Snacks were easily accessible, and we had not gone to the store yet, so I'm still sitting on my terrible chair and leaning up against a tree. And I was facing like towards the uphill, and to my left and your front was the downhill. And that was the first time, yeah, I saw a Tom. I was like, or I saw it ended up being a Jake, but a big Jake.
And this
And
Jake
so
was messing with this crane.
I
He
almost
started
forgot about
messing
that.
with this crane, like, he was chasing him around and, like, pecking at
Yeah,
him and being like a, aggressive
yeah, he was being
woodland turkey.
aggressive. Yeah. And so um we're like, "Oh, what the hell's going on?" And then it started coming our way. Okay.
We hit him with the
Hit
call.
him. Yeah, yeah. So then we hit him with the call and really get his attention, right? And then I start like at first I was like, "Ooh, there it is." You get that initial shock, like, "Oh, there's one. They are here. All right." Uh, and then it started coming our way. I was
And
like,
fast. Those little things are quick.
"They're moving." Yeah. Well, and I think it was because I think it saw our decoys, but it wasn't really, maybe that interested. And then we called it in, and then it was really interested. So then it starts moving its way forward. And then it would stop, look around, peck, move its way forward. And then I'm like, it's coming. Okay.
What'd that feel
So
like?
then that's when, yeah. So in my initial shock, this was maybe over a 10-minute period. So it's a lot faster, than I was actually initially expecting, waiting like hours, for it to just kind of. I was expecting, all right, it was going to kind of mosey its way over eventually, but no, it was coming straight. It was coming right for us.
Here it comes.
Yeah, so it starts moving forward, drop, peck, look around, take another, go another 50 feet or so, stop, peck around. And so then I'm moving as slow as I can when it's like down and pecking at the ground. So I'm like,
Slow
if it's
turns
coming,
turn
I
fast.
need to be ready. So I at least had the foresight to be like, get yourself in a position. So, and it's to my, direct left, right? So I'm sitting there and I get myself into a good, shooting position, and I'm just waiting and waiting, and I'm waiting for it to get closer and closer. And that's, yeah, then the heart rate starts going up. I'm like, I think I'm actually gonna let's see what we can do here. We can actually get this, right?
And we had talked about previously, like,
Yeah,
the range, like, the
yeah,
distance in which we can reach out and shoot these birds.
yeah,
So, behind Ken, I was working the calls, and I also had my rangefinder, and we were just working him in, waiting for him to be at
yeah.
the right distance.
So, I think we put our decoys maybe 15 yards in front of us. So you can kind of terrain associate between that and then, okay, go double that is going to be where I want them to be at the max range before I even, consider taking a shot. And it's working its way forward. And now, my heart rate's going up, and now you get a random itch and you're like, don't move. You can't move. Just don't. So you're trying to ignore that, and your pulse is going. Now at this point, like it's in range, I slowly move the safety from safe to fire, and I'm just waiting. Let me get it in just a little bit closer, and then uh at maybe 25 yards, I was like, this is going to be the opportunity. I don't want to waste it. So I breathe, I relax, I aim, I give myself a second, and then I slowly squeeze the trigger, and I got my first turkey. And it was a wonderful experience. Realize, okay, I can do this. I just did it. I just did this.
So Ken's
And
shotgun goes off, right? So I'm like, it's coming in, and, like, I'm just about to say, "Take the shot," and boom, Ken fires before I said anything, like, telekinetically, he was, like, in my brain, like, "Here, now is the opportunity, we need to seize the moment." Ken shoots, shotgun goes off, turkey folds over. I just get up and run out there, right? I'm like, "Unload your shotgun," and I just, ran out.
He's all yeah, he gets up and he just starts taking off. And then I think it was just a lot of adrenaline,
Oh, yeah.
so I get up, I'm
Well,
on safe, I run it out.
in some occasions, like, your turkey is on its way out and it's not going fast enough. So, the idea is to end the turkey as fast as possible. We don't want them to suffer.
Mhm,
Not that Ken's turkey was doing that, it was not. But part of the process that I built in myself is whether or not that bird is down and not moving, we wanna go over there and end it as fast as possible, as painless as possible. So,
yeah.
I get up, I go out, I say, "Ken, unload your shotgun." And I'm out there making sure that the bird is expired. It was expired great. Ken did a perfect job, everything was.
Yeah, so yeah, he takes off and I'm like, "Okay, I let's go." Flip the safe, run, We get out there and then we just high five. It's like, "All right, we did this. We got it." We text our buddy, send him a picture. Here we go. So at that point, it was kind of later in the morning, so I think he was just like, "All right, cool. We got one." So he came over, we were taking mornings over. Turkeys are pretty active early morning and then, later in the evening. They usually come out into the fields. Part of their patterns of life is that, they're doing their foraging, they're looking for mates.
Yeah.
They're pretty active in the mornings, and then the evenings they they have a pretty typical routine, for that. And then during the day, it's usually warmer out, so they typically go back into the wood line.
Not to mention,
Um,
in spring, the days are friggin' long. So,
yeah,
we sleep, 5 hours, and then it's, light for the rest of so we're exhausted, and we're hiking
yeah,
and get up, get down, move around. You find muscles you don't know you had. So, come 11 o'clock or noon, typically, unless we're really in them. "Hey, let's
yeah,
go back, let's eat some lunch, take a little snooze, then we'll grab monsters on the way out, and then
yeah,
we'll just gear up, we'll go do it." And, so typically around lunchtime, we go in for lunch anyway, and Ken had a
yeah,
bird, so we start heading back to our buddy Ben's.
yeah. So and then I tagged out, right? But you know, I'm not gonna go home. Like I just, like I got lucky because that is not a typical. I was expecting I wasn't gonna see anything. I wasn't gonna get anything in this trip. I thought I was gonna make too much noise and I was gonna scare birds off. So I feel like I got really, really the right kind of things aligned for me to get a bird on within 24 hours of being there.
Yeah.
I think a part of your little mental judo that you did, you're like, okay, you're hooked now. I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think so.
So we go back for our little lunch siesta.
Yeah.
We cut up Ken's bird, and we eat as much of the turkeys as we can.
Yeah.
A lot of them, it's tough to eat, but even at that, he was telling me later on, "Oh, man, I took the legs, put them in the slow cooker, the part that's the toughest." He's like, "And still we made sandwiches or whatever you did with them." And we're like,
Yeah.
"This is, so good." And it hits a little different.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's we get turkey breast lunch meat all the time. That's like a staple in our house. Like we have sandwiches, with that. We we have turkey for Thanksgiving, we have turkey for Christmas. It's a pretty popular bird, but what a lot of people don't realize is that that's that's a farm turkey. It's a lot different than wild turkeys.
That's like well, there's a lot of meat to feed a lot of people. But these wild turkeys that we're hunting, boy, they're running and covering miles.
Yeah,
Yes.
so one thing that I came to realize, especially with the turkey leg, was that they've got a lot of sinew. They're moving all the time. They've gotta they gotta cover miles they'll cover miles in a day to get their fill. And they'll eat pretty much anything. So they'll eat seeds, they'll eat, feed corn if you're by a field, they'll eat insects, they'll
To me, the best thing is, when you're with somebody who's never had it, and you're just like, "I did this, please try."
yeah,
And they're
yeah,
like, "Yeah, it's
yeah.
turkey," and you're like, but I did this.
Yeah.
No, there's something it's just different.
Yeah, so I did, the first one I did the turkey in a smoker. I did that, smoked them for a few hours. I had it. Number one, yeah, there's the satisfaction that you get. It's like, oh, I did this right. But that also was something that I learned. I was like, you know what? I could do this better. I think I can do this better. So the next time I went for the turkey legs or a turkey leg, I slow cooked it and made pulled turkey. And I was like, oh, this for me, this is I think the way I found my way to make a meal.
And there's some great recipes out there. One in
Yeah.
particular that I like, there's a meat in the Meat Eater cookbook. There's one for turkey sausage, breakfast sausage. And there was a
Hmm.
time where I ground up a whole turkey breast and turned it into breakfast sausage with cranberries in it and everything, and you freeze them in your with wax paper in your vacuum sealer. So next time what I do is deep freeze them, and then next turkey season, before we go out, boy, firing up at some turkey sausage from last year's wild turkey, man,
Yeah.
it gets you fired up.
What I want to try is turkey jerky. So I've got this like slow cooker slash air fryer slash dehydrator, a whole bunch of stuff. And I found myself, I've got a turkey breast in the freezer, and that's the next one that I want to do. I
Uh-huh.
want to do a, turkey jerky because I think that would be really cool to try. I think would be a really cool thing to do. But that again, like you have all these different options that you can do.
So it's clear to me, Ken, that you now have a passion for turkey hunting. But, I mean, we're sharing it with our listeners, right? You now have a passion for turkey hunting.
I do, yeah.
And what is it about turkey hunting that makes it worth your paid time off? So coming in full circle, this time that we have for paid time off is very especially you have a family, you got a lot of things going on. What is it about turkey hunting? And this is a tough question. You don't have to know the answer. What is it about turkey hunting that you're like, okay, this is something that I need to do. Like what? Why?
So going back to what I was talking about way earlier about routine, I think it's important for me to at least get out in the woods at least once a year, right? This gives me the opportunity or a justification for it, right? That's number one. Number two, um, I get to do it with friends. I'm fortunate enough that I'm not going solo. We have a group of friends. Uh we have the time to get together. I have the time off that I'm afforded to do it. But yeah, it's important for me to at least once a year to go and, you know, be in the area. I live in a metropolitan area, right? So I don't get that opportunity to just, so it's something that I cherish
Yeah.
and being able to do it with friends. It's fun. A chase to it. It's a challenge. It's not easy. Like you have to put the time and effort into it. And I think it's also like like the anticipation of it too. Like it's going to come up. All right, let's put in for the lottery.
For
Let's see
me,
if we get it.
it's a great excuse. One, I love hunting and hunting turkeys, and I do it on my own. I love it that much. But for like, it's another awesome reason, almost excuse to like get back with the boys and like
Yeah.
reset. Like, man, like if it's a busy year, I'm working my buns off. Like, I get to see my best friends that were in my wedding party or my groomsmen. We get together, all the people we turkey hunt with, all groomsmen for my wedding.
Yeah.
We have an excuse to get together, and whether or not we kill turkeys, we're gonna have a fun time, and it's interesting because a lot of things that folks can do with their paid time off, some folks might decide, "Hey, I wanna go sit on a beach somewhere for a couple days." Or
Which I did recently, by the way, and
yeah.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and some prioritize those things right away, but we choose this thing where we wake up before the sun comes up. We are out all day chasing a wild animal around who is sharper and smarter than we are when it comes to survival out in this, like, wilderness for more hours than we can handle, so we're sleeping and chugging monsters every day so we can wake up,
Yeah.
and then we come home and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm not relaxing, I'm exhausted, but for some
Yeah.
reason, it's still worth it, and I don't know what it is about it, but it is just the best thing to me.
Going back to that first hunt, like some of the funnest things that happened were when I was tagged out. And I was like, well, let's just go figure this out. So I was just going with you. Tag along. I'll call out distance for him. I'll work the call for my buddy.
On another trip, I injured myself.
Yeah,
So
so
I
I was about to get to that.
limped around in a boot.
Yeah.
So I hurt myself, and I didn't go home. I went to the hospital, got a boot. They were like, "Yeah, just don't do anything crazy." And we turkey hunted for days. Limped, and you were patient enough to sit with me, and we had success again.
I became your Sherpa. First time we got to the hunting spot, it was maybe a few hours after you got back from the urgent care.
Yeah, dude.
And they're like, you're just you're just rocking Tylenol in a boot, and you're like, all right, cool, let's go. And you're just limping
Yeah.
and going like 2 miles an hour. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is gonna be tough.
But
So I
it's
would
worth
go
it.
ahead, I would try and find a spot. I'm like, okay, I think this is a good spot. Let's go. And I'd be like, all right, watch out, there's a divot here, dude. Let's not ruin your other leg, because then I'm gonna have to drag you out.
But it's spending time with the boys. It's important.
It is, yeah.
And getting out there, boy, is that a story we're gonna tell forever.
Yeah, yeah.
And we had
Hmm.
success there. Turkey hunting, Ken, became something very important to you, something that you prioritize once a year, use some of your paid time off for. If somebody is going to try turkey hunting for the first time ever, they don't know anything about it, just like you did before you started, what kind of advice might you have for a listener that is in that situation?
In that situation, if you have somebody that you know, that knows how to do it, or you can find somebody that knows how to do it, reach out. That helped me the most. And if you don't have a friend, there are organizations that can't name off the
So,
top of
like,
my head, but
your local NWTF chapter, National Wild Turkey
yeah,
Federation,
yeah,
is a good one that you can reach out to for
yeah,
some resources if you don't have
yeah.
somebody.
The internet community will there are forums and people who are putting out content that want to educate people and get people um into the sport. Put in for a tag, public land. If you've got it by you, that's a resource that is very unique to the United States. We can go out and we have this
We have
land that we
access.
have access to.
Teddy Roosevelt put a bunch of land aside saying, "Hey, this is something important to me. This is so important to me, I might even take a day off to go do it." Right? So go out, check out your public land, reach out to your National Wild Turkey Federation groups if you're looking to try turkey hunting for the first time because it is a super valuable thing. Ken, thank you so much for joining us today for the episode number 2 of the Paid Time Outdoor podcast. Expect there to be more content, and Ken might even have reappearance. So thanks for tuning in to learn about turkey hunting a little bit, about some of Ken's upbringing and where he's come from. Sounds like turkey hunting to me is a good way to use some PTO and maybe even a sick day. If you use a sick day, just make sure that you're not telling your boss. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you for the next episode.